Okay, what I'm going to talk about today is a topic that I call mind blindness. So, what I would ask us to do first is to consider this phenomenon of the butterfly developing from a caterpillar. So, you start off with a soft-bodied creature which crawls around in a kind of two-dimensional world. It eats leaves, and it has a brain suitable for that purpose. Now, what it has to do is turn into this very different creature, which has hard elements, completely different controller needed. It lives in a three-dimensional world, it flies around, and it has a very different brain. In order to get from here to here, what this system does is basically dissolve most of its brain. Most of the cells are killed off, the connections are broken, and eventually a new brain is rebuilt that's suitable for this life.
Wake up, stupid.
The process that was described for butterflies happens within humans as well, during a particular stage of development or growth, when the body and the mind is broken down and rebuilt through a process that is not seen. At the end of it, a new image appears. From the human aspect, it is a metamorphosis that occurs with the use of words and images that come together to form new thoughts. By trying to control what certain groups of people see and what they don't see. These new thoughts will form. But what would you call someone who controls what you see and what you don't see?
Hitler is one of the more difficult people to really define in terms of today. What he said about himself very often was he was a man who came from nowhere. He was also a man who disappeared into nowhere. Once he was gone, almost everything associated with him became trivial almost. Nazism
was the use of words and propaganda. To come from nowhere means that you are not seen. And so when you have someone like this dictating what people can or cannot see, well, you need someone to do the job. The National Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, the Nazi. Just as this was a plant created for the reach, this was also a plan created to regain control for the reach. In other words, it is an act sent for a hollow cause.
You're fired! Get out of here! You're fired!
Today, the president made what are widely called unusual, perhaps unprecedented remarks in the modern era. And I'm going to show you exactly what he said and why military veterans and many other experts on a nonpartisan basis say this is one of those inflection points you need to confront. The president made this public address so everyone can see and hear what he is saying to the military. And he explicitly said this military under this Trump administration must better focus on attacking, quote, the enemy within for a new type of war.
I don't usually cry, but yesterday I did. And it wasn't because my stress levels were through the roof. It wasn't even because we had to call the police. It was because over 15,000 of you showed up yesterday to Ugly Potato Day to grab free produce. You didn't just show up, you waited in line for hours. Yesterday was one of the most heavily rained days of the year. I feel that this just shows how broken our country actually is.
When did you wait in line up for?
About an hour and a half.
An hour and a half in the pouring rain. Dude, you are a legend. You want.
Family is sick, so here we go.
I heard story after story about families not being able to afford produce, and it broke our heart. Overall, we are able to give out 250,000 pounds of vegetables, but I am truly sorry to the thousands of people that we turned away.
With President Trump getting his wish to prolong the pain and uncertainty of the government shutdown for millions of desperate Americans. Last night, the United States Supreme Court temporarily granted the Trump administration's request to withhold SNAP food aid, pausing a federal judge's previous ruling ordering the administration to fund the aid immediately. Attorney General Pam Bondi praised the decision to deprive people of food, saying Justice Department attorneys, quote, will not stop fighting day and night to defend and advance President Trump's agenda. That agenda includes new chaos for the 42 million Americans who rely on SNAP. This latest Trump administration effort to inflict cruelty comes as Democrats offered a new plan to end the longest shutdown in U.S. history.
In the chaos of post-World War I Germany, a fragile democracy crumbled under the weight of economic despair, political infighting, and national humiliation. From the ashes of the Weimar Republic, a man emerged, ambitious, calculating, and ruthless, promising to restore glory, but leading the world to the brink of destruction.
When the First World War began, both the Allies and the Central Powers had plans to wage economic warfare against each other, to damage the enemy's economy and morale. One component of this was a naval blockade, a strategy in use since ancient times.
What is this?
I don't know what this is, but if I were looking at this,
I would say that this is in fact a naval blockade,
suggesting that his government is not going to pay any of the SNAP benefits until the shutdown is resolved.
To tighten its blockade of Britain, they announced they could stop any goods from entering Germany, including food meant for the civilian population. Food shortages and the suffering of the civilian population, though, really began to bite in 1915. Women spent hours each day queuing at shops, though the food often sold out quickly. Berlin introduced food rationing on some items, but inflation put even more food out of reach for most Germans. The cost of feeding a family increased 50% in the first year of the war. Even aristocrats felt the pinch, though not nearly as much as working-class Germans. We are all growing thinner every day, and the rounded contours of the German nation have become a legend of the past. We are all gaunt and bony now, and have dark shadows round our eyes, and our thoughts are chiefly taken up with wondering what our next meal will be.
And so to control this germination of thoughts, which could lead to rebellion, they put in a plant. The word Germany denotes that which grows from eating the insides of others, because that's what germs do. They feed on the inside, and then something else buds or sprouts forth from the word Gorman or German, which means to be greedy or ravenous, and the word nie, which denotes support. And so Germany is a reflection of that which appears after you eat up a certain aspect of support. And so this was a religious movement.
Frank McDonough is an historian specializing in the Hitler family.
Hitler stages these grand Nuremberg rallies where he appears in front of 100,000 people, and people who were at these rallies have left behind memoirs of what they felt, and they say, you know, it looked as though it was some kind of religious experience.
Do note that the true name of this location is Deutsch. And no matter how you spell it, whether it's this or this, it all means to split something in two.
They're gonna put you all back in chains.
And so the word bi means to split something in two. Although the words are the same and sound the same, because they don't look the same, certain aspects and images become invisible in plain sight, making it a form of
mind blindness.
And so for people who have not noticed, we have what you see and what you don't see. But we have to remember that the truth is always present within the name. And so that brings us back to the early 1900s, when Gorman people chose this as their alpha.
Jesus says, I am the Alpha.
And so the alpha is forcing something else to be moved. And anyone who is familiar with the algorithm will understand that this is how you control someone's reach and their ability to become rich. And so the name Jesus represents the phrase geese us, a tailor's handle that drives immigration. As a command, you are forcing something to be moved.
You're fired. Get out of here. You're fired.
And by controlling their movement. The alpha is the one who turned you on.
And the omega
is also the O-maker, the one who keeps you in a loop, because it is the creator of your course of movement, and it represents who and what you choose as your offer. And so, in my previous video, I talked about what it means to be poor, and in that video, I asked the question, who's your alpha? And so these people, 100 years ago, chose Adolf. This name Adolf can be broken down into two parts, ad and off. And so according to his name, he was doing his job by cutting one government off to start another. And well, his name is Donald. So it is his job to don the old, which is a shortened version of this term, alderman. And in general, it is a man of the tree, someone who has the power to constitute the court of the corporation, to regain the power and control for the reach. If you guys want to have a name decoded, your name, someone else's name, for research purposes or relationship compatibility, it can even tell you if you're in the right career. If you are interested, check out the information in the description down below.